Just like you take time to actually batch record your videos, you want to take out the same amount of time to actually batch edit your videos. It does you no good if you actually did all of the work, you did the strategy, you set up your camera, you set up the lights, you recorded your video, and then it sits in your folder for months and months and months because it's not edited.
Welcome to the Side Hustler Podcast, your go-to space for content creation, actionable strategy, and the real behind the scenes of building a business while you're still balancing a full-time job. Every week we talk about what actually works, what doesn't, and how to create content that moves your business forward without burning you out. I'm your host, Carly LeBlanc. Let's get started.
Hello, and welcome back to the Side Hustler Podcast. I'm your host, Carly LeBlanc, and I'm so excited to have you on today's episode. If you're new here, my name is Carly LeBlanc, and I am the CEO and founder of CD Creative Co., which is a content creation agency based here in Houston, Texas. Now, one of the things that I love being able to do is helping business owners create content that connects and convert. What does that mean? That means you're not just creating content just to create content, but to connect with your ideal customer and to convert your followers into customers. So if you're new here today, we're going to be talking all about talking head content. Because why? Talking head content is one of the most dreaded piece of content that my clients, my online audience struggle with the most. And one of the things is that a lot of people are like, well, how is it that you can knock out a talking head content so easily? Do you remember your lines? Do you have a script? Do you use a teleprompter? And so in this episode, we're going to break down how you can make talking heads videos easier for you, because there's one thing that we know is that we cannot avoid creating talking head content. Talking head content is critical for every service provider, every online business, especially because it allows you to show up as the authority that you are in your niche and industry. So in today's episode, we're going to dive in on the process that I use to be able to show up organically, confidently online to create talking head content for my business, and how I also help my clients and potential customers do the same. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode.
Have you ever found yourself stuck on what to post or struggling to stay consistent on social media? I've been there, and that's exactly why I created this free guide called 30 Days of Done-For-You Social Media Prompts for Personal Brands. This guide is loaded with prompts to get your gears turning so you can have a gallery of content to create for your brand and never stress about what to post again. And you can grab it right now at cdcreativecoagency.com/content and start creating content that connects without the stress.
All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is, what is a talking head video? Now, I don't want to assume that everybody knows what talking heads are, but if you're new here, talking head content are typically videos of you talking, maybe from the chest up, but you look like you're essentially on FaceTime with a family member or a friend. And basically you're either educating or entertaining your potential customer online by creating content related to your business. Now, this is the most critical piece of content that you can create in your business, because it actually helps you to build trust faster with a potential customer and anyone that may just be looking to see if you know exactly what you do. And so when it comes to talking head content can also be the most dreaded piece of content, because a lot of business owners who just want to focus on being in their business, they don't want to have to show up on camera, they don't want to have to talk, they don't like their voice, they don't know what to say. And so instead of them actually jumping over that hurdle, they typically try to find other ways, other avenues to create content without creating talking head content. Now, I truly believe that if you have a strategy in place, now everybody knows I'm a strategist. If you have a strategy in place to help you actually execute talking head content, you can show up online confidently, you can get your message across without being confusing, and you can also use your talking head content to help your customers convert to paying customers with your educational approach in your content. Now, why are talking heads beneficial for your content strategy? Great question. Like I said before, talking head content is the easiest piece of content to actually take your buyer through your buying process faster. Why? Because it builds trust faster. Imagine you on camera educating your potential customer or follower about whatever problem it is that you solve, your unique approach, the way that you like to scale, the way that you like to address situations and solutions to their problem. This will allow them to feel as if you are the perfect person for them to actually go with to help them solve the problem that they have. Now, one of the things that I feel a lot of people struggle with is that they never know what type of content to actually create in form of talking head content, but we're going to get into that a little bit later. But instead of you actually trying to not create talking head content, I am going to highly encourage you to dive in, to exercise that muscle, to get uncomfortable, because when you show up online as the authority that you are, people are able to gauge your personality, they're able to see your specific approach, and they are also able to decide if you are the one that they want to work with or not. Now let's talk about what the problem actually is of why you are not creating content. It's because you don't know what to post, right? And so I'm going to give you one of the best solutions to always know what to post. This is one of the things that I do for my clients and even for myself. I like to create a T-chart. On one side of the T-chart, I actually list out all of the challenges that my audience, my customer has. And on the other side, I'm going to list the goals that they want to achieve that basically my business helps them to achieve. So if I take my business as an example and we go through the challenges, a couple of the most common challenges that my audience struggle with is, one, they struggle with being consistent online. They don't have a regular cadence of posting because they don't have content to post. Another challenge that most of my audience struggles with is that they don't know what to post. They want to post content, or they're just posting random content, but it doesn't align with their business. And with that, that means that no one is actually purchasing anything that they're buying because their content is random. Another challenge that a lot of people struggle with is actually understanding how to shoot their own content. They don't know how to shoot their content on their phone. They don't know how to shoot content on a camera. They don't know what mics to use. They don't know how to adjust the lighting. They don't know how to get high quality content. Now, on the other hand, some of the goals that they have is that they want their content to be a lead generator in their business. They want their content to actually convert followers to customers. They also want to have high quality content that they're proud of, that they always can go back and look at and be proud of the content that they create, because they know that their content on social media is essentially a welcome mat for their business. And another goal that they have is that they want to build a sense of community online. They want to be able to have a community of people that follow their page, that always supports their business, that always can connect with the problem or the solution that they provide.
Okay, quick pause. If creating consistent content feels like a full-time job on top of your full-time job, then you're going to want to hear this. I am excited to bring to you Batch, which is a new marketplace platform that I and my co-founder Lauren have created, built for entrepreneurs and content creators. This is the marketplace that is going to connect business owners and entrepreneurs who need content with vetted local creators who can help them plan, shoot, and edit their content all in one place. So many of you have asked, when am I going to be able to book you for a content day? When can you come to my city? Do you know anyone in my city that does what you do? And this is going to be the solution. So whether you're an entrepreneur who is tired of struggling to find reliable content creators, photographers, or maybe you're just a creator who's ready to get booked and paid without having to go through the social media marketing of your business, Batch is going to be the platform that bridges that gap. So say for instance, if you're flying to New York for a speaking engagement and you need content there, or even if you have a vendor pop-up event in New Orleans and you need content there, Batch is going to be the creator marketplace that helps you get high quality content to market your brand online. It's designed to help you finally show up online with strategy, with confidence, and create consistent content that converts and actually helps you reach your visibility and revenue goals without the overwhelm. So if you're ready to make content creation creation easier and more intentional, head over to batchcontent.com. That's BATCHED content.com. Join the waitlist so you are the first to know when Batch is launched in your city.
Now, if you're struggling with coming up with challenges and goals, this is where you can use ChatGPT AI to help you come up with the challenges, come up with the goals that are relative to your business. So that way you are able to move to step 2. Now, once you have your challenges and your goals written out on your fancy, handy dandy T-chart, you are going to go down each challenge and create a content pillar for each one. Just like I was saying, the first one is that they struggle with being consistent online. That is going to essentially be the hook for my talking head content. So when I get on camera, the first thing I'm going to say is, are you a business owner that struggles with being consistent online? You're going to do that for each and every piece of content that you listed on your challenges and also for your goals. That is going to be the foundational piece of your talking head content. Now, essentially, you could also follow the formula where there is a hook, problem, solution, and then call to action. Sometimes I don't necessarily stick to this formula, but if you're like, I need a formula, I need a blueprint, that typically is the best way for you to actually structure your talking head so you don't feel like you're actually rambling and going on and on without an ending. So now that you have your hooks for your talking head content, now we're going to talk about how you actually solve that problem, right? So going back to my example where I mentioned people are struggling with being consistent online, I'm going to talk about why I feel my audience struggles with being consistent online. So that's going to look like this. Are you a business owner that struggles with being consistent online? Maybe you don't have time to create your content. Maybe you don't know what to post. Maybe you just really need some support because you struggle with actually getting on camera. Well, if that's you, that is how you're going to add supporting details to back up how your potential customer is feeling. You want to be able to add empathy into your talking heads so that you know that you can relate to whatever it is that they're feeling. Now, after we have addressed the problem, we're going to go into how we solve the problem. And that's going to look a little bit like at CD Creative Co., we offer VIP content days that allow our clients to be able to create content to help them show up consistently and also to create content that connects and converts. Notice how I went back and related the solution to the problem. I'm basically filling in the gaps, showing them that my offer is the missing piece that they need to help them solve the problem that I mentioned at first in the beginning of the video. Now, after I actually mention all of the things that I do that helps them solve the problem that they have, I'm going to end my talking head with a call to action. You always want to have a call to action to tell your followers or whoever is actually coming across your video the next step that you want them to take. So that looks a little bit like this. If you're ready to start creating content that connects and converts, make sure you comment content and I'm going to send you the link to book a discovery call. Now, this call to action could either go to your booking link, it could go to your link in bio, it could go to your calendar, it could go to your landing page, it could go to your lead magnet, but you always want to end every single talking head with a call to action, because if you don't necessarily tell people where to go, they won't take the action and then they won't convert into a customer.
Y'all already know I'm all about working smarter and not harder, especially when it comes to marketing your brand. And if you're still relying only on social media to reach your audience, we need to fix that immediately. Social media is cute, but let's be real. The algorithm is unpredictable and your content is probably only reaching a small percentage of your followers. That's why I swear by email marketing, because when I send an email, I know 100% of my subscribers are getting my messages. And the best part, Flowdesk makes it ridiculously easy. You can send beautiful on-brand emails, automate your sequences, and even create landing pages without needing to be tech savvy. And because you're listening, I got you a deal. Use my code SIDEHUSTLE at checkout and you'll get 50% off your Flowdesk subscription for the next 12 months. So if you're ready to stop relying on algorithms and start building an email list that actually converts, try Flowdesk for free. And don't forget to use the code SIDEHUSTLE at checkout for that exclusive 50% off.
So now that we talked about the strategy behind creating your talking head content, let's talk about some of the tips and things that a lot of people are always bringing up when it comes to creating content. One of the things being equipment and lighting. Now, Before there was all of the lights, the cameras, the mics, I always just started on my phone. I typically would use the back camera on my phone to actually create my talking head content. But if you are someone who may needs a teleprompter or a script, you could essentially use the front camera, and you could use the teleprompter within either CapCut or any of the other teleprompter apps. But I will warn you to make sure that if you do decide to use a teleprompter, you want to make sure that it doesn't look like you're reading, because that can be a red flag for yourself and for your business to your potential customer. If you decide to use a teleprompter, one of the things that I always used to do was I would make the font size a little bit bigger so that way my eyes wouldn't gaze from left to right. I would just focus on the big text in the middle, and then I would increase the speed of the words so that way I could actually keep up with how the words were showing up on the screen. But also it just limited my eye tracking from going left to right, so that way no one would know that I was using a teleprompter. It will look like I was just organically talking to the screen. Now, if you're like, teleprompters freak me out, I don't want to do that, that's totally fine. You can use your back camera, but just make sure that you give your camera a good cleansing. We do not want to see talking head videos that are foggy, that are hazy, that are unclear. We want high quality videos. And so if you're one of the people that are like, okay, well, how can I do this? I always tell my clients, anyone online, grab you some of the lens wipes from either Walmart, HEB, Amazon, but give your camera a really good wipe with an actual cleaning wipe like this right here, and clean your camera before you do anything. You always want to make sure your camera is clean, because that's how you're going to be able to get the best quality when it comes to your video content. Now, another thing that a lot of people ask about is lighting. I always use lights because the way that my office is set up, my windows on the side of my office instead of in the front. And so if you don't have access to artificial lighting, whether a light or softbox or a ring light on top of your camera, you can always use natural light. I always tell people natural light is always the best. You don't necessarily need all of these fancy lights unless you actually need them. But if you're looking on how to make your content great with natural lighting, one of the things that you can do is always put yourself in front of the window of where the natural light is, so that way the natural light hits your face and it naturally lightens up your skin. Never, ever, ever have your lighting behind you, because it will cause this harsh shadow and it will look very bad. So make sure that always your light is facing you from the front, and always make sure that you are using your light as a way for you to lighten up your video. That is one of the best things that you can do for your video, is lighting. If your lighting is bad, your whole video is going to be bad. So just make sure that if you do need to use natural light, always put yourself in front of the window instead of having the window behind you. Now, if you do need to purchase some artificial lighting, I will put a link down below to my Amazon Essentials. That's where you can find all of the lights that I use for the ones on my camera, the ones for my phone, the ones that I have here in my office. But those are always a great tool to have. They are kind of expensive and can add up. So if you don't have the budget to actually go out and invest in lighting, just use natural light, and I promise you it will get you far.
Okay, let me put y'all onto something, because if you're creating content and you're not using ManyChat, you are leaving money on the table, and that's on period. I use ManyChat for all of my DM automations, and I'm constantly telling my clients this. DM automations are one of the best ways for you to convert your content. Why? Because you're getting direct links straight to your audience without them having to wait for you to manually respond to DMs. You can send links to your lead magnets, event tickets, your offers, checkout pages, literally anything that you're selling automatically. It's fast, it's seamless, and it removes friction for your audience. But what I love most is not how just convenient it is, but how strategic it is, because you can also track your conversions and see where your leads are coming from and understand what content is driving real results. Not just likes, not just views, actual data. And if you want to try it out, I got a code for you. Use my code to get 30% off of ManyChat for your first 3 months. You can scan the QR code on your screen, or if you're listening, head over to cdcreativecodeagency.com/ManyChat to grab your discount now. Trust me, once you automate your DMs, you will never look back.
Now, the last thing I want to talk about is audio, because this is one of the things that I feel a lot of people also typically neglect, but audio is king, because if we are on a video, even if it looks beautiful, if the audio is crap, we're not listening to it, because our ears are very sensitive about the things that we are able to tolerate. And so when it comes to audio, you want to make sure that you are utilizing good mics. Now, you don't necessarily have to go out and buy the most expensive mics. There's a couple on Amazon that are really good and really expensive. You can also check those out in my Amazon storefront that is linked below. But right now, I'm currently using my Rode wireless mics, and I love them. I use them for my client content, and then I also use it for myself. Now, also when I'm shooting my podcast, I typically use my Shure mic. For you who is shooting amazing talking head content for your business, all you need is a good mic that can connect to your phone to make sure you have that crispy audio, good, crispy quality audio, to make sure that your video is actually really good. The last thing that I want to hit on is how to make talking heads achievable. Because the thing is that if you don't have a plan, you will not succeed. And one of the best things that has worked for me when it comes to shooting talking head content is batching your content. I swear by batching my content to the point where that's the foundation of my business. And so when I say batching, I'm telling you that you're not doing everything in one day, but you are batching all of your video content in one day. So typically what a batching session looks like for me is I will go a day before or a couple of days before and actually write out all of the videos that I'm going to record. So going back to your T-chart that we discussed earlier in the video, you will take all of your talking points on your T-chart and turn those into video content concepts. So the key here is that you're not doing everything all in one day. You are strategizing a day before or a couple of days before, so that way you have an actual plan, and then you have a day or 2 days later where you're actually sitting down and batching, recording all of your video content. Today is a batching day for me as I'm sitting down batching all of my podcast content, but also whenever I have a campaign or anything that's going on and I need to batch my content, I do the same format for that as well. So strategize a day before, 2 days before. That should take a little bit, about an hour. And then when it comes time for me to actually sit down and record the videos, I give myself anywhere between 2 to 3 hours that I block on my calendar. I turn my phone on Do Not Disturb. I make sure that I'm using the time where I have the best energy, the highest energy, because no one wants to come on camera when they're sluggish and when they're tired and they're not feeling their best. So if you're not a morning person, don't schedule your batching session in the mornings, and vice versa if you are an evening person. But when it's time for you to actually batch your content, you are going down the checklist of each talking head that you actually have to shoot and record, and you want to make sure that you give yourself time to mess up. Give yourself time to actually try over and over again. I remember when I first started shooting talking head content, I would record a video 3 times. That way I could give myself variety to choose the one that I felt was best later on when it was time to edit. So I suggest that you do the same. Take some time to actually record your talking heads, but also record yourself a couple times, because sometimes when you first start shooting content, the first one is not always the best. And even if that is the case, that's okay. So record your content at least 2 to 3 times to give yourself options, so when you actually go in and edit, or you have someone edit for you, they have options to choose which one of the videos are the best ones. Now, before you move to the next video, you want to make sure you go back, make sure your audio is good, and make sure your lighting is good. Make sure there's no flyaways, or your hair doesn't look funky, or you have something on your teeth. But always go back and check the video first before moving to the next video, okay? And always make sure you have your call to actions at the end of each video. I cannot stress this enough, because this is one of the easiest things to fix, but also one of the easiest things to miss that can really be a pivotal thing to actually transform transform your followers into customers because people don't know where you want them to go. So make sure all of your talking head videos actually end with a call to action. So that way people know exactly where they want to go or where they need to go to actually do what it is that you say that you do. Now, the last thing is that when it comes to editing, because a lot of people are like, listen, I batch shoot all of my content, but my content sits in my Google Drive, in my folders for months and months because I don't have time editing. Let me tell you, just like you take time to actually batch record your videos, you want to take out the same amount of time to actually batch edit your videos. It does you no good if you actually did all of the work, you did the strategy, you set up your camera, you set up the lights, you recorded your video, and then it sits in your folder for months and months and months because it's not edited. Set out some time for you to actually edit your videos so that way you can actually strategically show up online consistently and that your content doesn't go into the graveyard of content, okay? Now, when it comes to editing, I love to keep my edits very simple because if I overdo it, chances are that video is never gonna hit the feed. So I give myself anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes to edit a talking head video. I may add some overlay text at the top so that way the person that's actually coming across that video knows what that video is about. And then I'll also make sure to add background music. I use lo-fi that I typically find anywhere in CapCut. And then I also will add captions. You could use the CapCut captions or you can use the Captions app, which is one of the apps that I'm actually really loving right now because it just kind of elevates my captions a little bit. But if you are new to editing, I would say keep your editing simple. Keep it easy. You don't need to have all of these cuts and transitions and this, that, and the third if that's not your thing. If it's going to take you hours to edit one video, I would suggest you not do it. But if you have a way of being able to be consistent and also doing these elaborative edits, then go off, sis. Do your thing. Now, after you have edited all your content, the last thing that you want to do is you want to schedule your content in a scheduling app or in Instagram. Now, I used to always swear by the Instagram scheduler, but recently I have been loving this tool called Metrical. Metrical has been a lifesaver for me because, like I said before, I want to show up in as many places as possible. I want to be consistent. And I love the fact that I can load in one time my piece of content, my captions, my cover image, and it will shoot it to all of my platforms. You have YouTube Shorts, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. It all goes all out at the same time. And I don't have to worry about if this posted to this platform or if this posted to this platform because every time I post, it all pops up on all of the social handles. And that is typically how I schedule out my talking head content. The best time for you to create talking head content is now because it's not going anywhere. Your potential customers want to see you. They want to see the person that is behind the brand. They want to gauge your personality. And so talking head content is always going to be the best way for you to actually convey that to your potential customers to help them actually go through your buying journey a little bit faster. All right, my friends, that is it for today's episode. I hope that this episode really helped you to understanding talking head content, to really being able to have a strategy behind creating talking head content, and to help you gauge how to create it a little bit better and how to be strategic when it comes to you creating your content. As always, if you need a little bit additional support, you can find me at cdcreativecoagency.com. You can also follow me on all social platforms at cd.creativeco. But until next time, my friends, keep shining, keep hustling, and do what you gotta do to create this content, honey. I'll see you guys in my next episode. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Side Hustler Podcast. If today's episode gave you clarity or the push you needed, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you want more behind the scenes content and strategy in real time, come hang out with me on Instagram at cd.creativeco. I'll see you in next week's episode.